Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Popp. I am stepping in for Kelly Mold today on our Your Money, Your Mission podcast. So I'm really pleased today to be joined by Dale Kooyenga. Dale is the president of the Metropolitan Milwaukee Association for Commerce, or MMAC. For those of you who don't know MMAC has a mission to make Metro Milwaukee, I read this, I got this right off their website, right? To make Metro Milwaukee, and I'll broadly say Southeast Wisconsin, is that fair,
that's
Dale?
correct.
The ideal place to invest, grow businesses, and create meaningful jobs. MMAC represents 2,000 member businesses employing over 300,000 people in Southeast Wisconsin and beyond that, actually. So today we're going to spend a little time talking about a lot of interesting stuff that's going on in Southeast Wisconsin.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's great. So 2025 was kind of a crazy year on a lot of different fronts with new administration and a lot of different things going on, but a really great year for Southeast Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start, but I guess let's start with economic development. Walk me through a little bit of what you guys had your fingers in.
We're kicking butt and taking numbers. I'll just put it that way.
That's true.
And just we have visibility in our seat to have a knowledge of the backlog that's unannounced, and it's just as encouraging as what has been announced. But what has been announced is just like 2 weeks ago, Rockwell announced. Rockwell this is cool because it's the old school and the new school. And Rockwell is one of those storied manufacturing companies that have been around for over 100 years. And the trajectory of companies like that when they're doing manufacturing has been overseas for the reasons that most people could rattle off pretty quickly. But they're doing a new investment over 1 million square footage. Will be their largest manufacturing facility in the world, really focused on robotics, automation.
It's fantastic.
This is not only manufacturing, but this is the type of operation that they will fly clients in from around the world to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and say, check out our robotics, automation, AI, all combined in one facility. We have Microsoft, the most respected, largest company in the world, making their largest investment out of Washington State right here in Racine, Kenosha counties.
Right.
Very exciting, and we can talk more about data centers later on.
Well, but it's interesting. I love the way you started it. Right. You started. It's kind of old school, new school. I mean,
Yes.
Milwaukee has been historically kind of Rust Belt feel, and that's where and the hub of manufacturing. We talk about manufacturing as the driver of the state of Wisconsin, and it's that still.
We still have the highest per capita manufacturing in the country.
Right. So it's that still. And now we have this complementary piece that is starting to come in. And you mentioned Microsoft, and you can go on and on with that one.
Right. And when you say complementary, there's a Venn diagram of the sectors that we have with these new sectors. When you talk about advanced manufacturing requires these types of data centers. And what do you have on the north side of Milwaukee? On the north side of Milwaukee, you have OpenAI and Oracle doing a project that is
Port Washington
would be equal size. And so, I mean, one more one, we could be here all day just talking about the wins in 2025, but Eli Lilly is amazing stat. The fastest growing economy in Europe was Denmark 2 years ago at 3%. 100% of that 3% is their weight loss drug economy with Novo. Well, who's taken over the leadership in that category, weight loss drugs? It's Eli Lilly. Whereas Eli Lilly said they're going to make their operations for manufacturing that drugs right here in Kenosha County. Well,
we saw it at the all-member meeting a couple months ago. Yeah. They're one of their senior executives was there, and they're going to add how many jobs?
I don't know the exact number, and it's still I think it's well over 1,000. But the other thing about that is they haven't announced what the average wage is, but it's pharmaceutical industry. So I could just tell you that the wage will be significantly higher than the average wage in the region.
Well, and even beyond the jobs and the wages. I mean, just think about the economic impact, right? The economic impact from the day the announcement happens. You talk about the trades. You can talk about all that.
I mean, just to throw another one on the pile here is Foxconn, which is about 1,300 employees.
Yep.
They announced last week that they're going to hire another 1,400 because they're building material and products for those AI data centers. So now you're up to 2,700 jobs there.
Well, Foxconn's kind of the gift that didn't give, then now it keeps on giving.
Yeah,
I mean, you think about think about some of this stuff doesn't happen without the Foxconn project that didn't happen.
Right.
Didn't happen. Some of it happened. It didn't all happen.
Yeah,
right?
it wasn't the 10,000 jobs, but
Right.
you're still now looking at 2,700 jobs.
But the
And
infrastructure
no
that was
Foxconn,
built,
no Microsoft.
right? Yeah, the infrastructure that was built, and
Right.
talk a little bit about that process. I mean, you at M7. Maybe for the listeners, tell people what M7 is.
Yeah, so Milwaukee 7 is the 7 stands for the 7 counties in southeast Wisconsin. And what we do is we have investors, including Johnson Bank, appreciate that. And you invest in MMAC's Milwaukee 7, and they go out there and they travel the world and work with site selectors and say, hey, you're going to build a big plant. This is why it makes sense to do this in southeast Wisconsin. And so it's a very deliberate process where we work with these companies and their site selectors. That's a whole different industry of specific firms that go out there
Right.
and they vet different sites. And there's a tax component, a livability component, a demographic and talent component. There's an environmental and infrastructure component. And you put this all up and hopefully you have the right recipe where that company says, you're the winner, southeast Wisconsin.
But needless to say, these are big investments. I mean, Microsoft's was $3 billion on the front end, plus another. I mean, maybe more than that. I don't know.
Yeah, with all not trying to disparage any investment, but we're not out there recruiting Buc-ee's. That's not our thing, right? Or the dry cleaner, laundromat.
But the point is, these are massive investments,
largest companies in the world,
and they are as competitive as anything in terms of how do you attract those companies to come to southeast Wisconsin versus going to Ohio or Michigan or Texas or other places.
Yes, we are competing directly with those places, Texas, and not only nationally, is internationally. Is we're competing with them.
What is in the middle of all that? What are you hearing as in terms of why do they come here?
Well, on the manufacturing side, manufacturing is actually tax-free in Wisconsin. So it's a pretty simple policy. It's called the Manufacturing Activities Credit. If you make it or grow it in Wisconsin, your tax liability is zero. So when you look at a state that has a fairly uncompetitive high income tax rate of 7.65 and close to it for corporate, is when you take that off the table and say, it's especially in the border here, we talk about even compared to Illinois, which is 5%, so we're 50% higher than them on income tax for higher earning income. Well, those typically are business owners.
Yeah. Topic for another podcast.
Topic for another rabbit hole. But it's that tax policy with manufacturing and agriculture, which gets companies to invest here. Our workforce here is better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right time, right place, right uniform. Our tech college here, right here, Gateway, top tier. WCTC, top tier. Then MSOE and Marquette and the UW system.
Right.
So the talent, also our proximity to Chicago, is they believe that they could pull from that labor market as well. So even though demographics is a challenge, is having access to that large metro gives us some credibility as well and some momentum. So
and we're seeing it. We see talent migrating north.
Yes,
we've seen companies migrating north and talent migrating north. So all to say it's working, right?
It's 2 for 1 right now. So for every one person that leaves the Milwaukee metro for the Chicago metro, there's 2 people moving the other way.
Wow. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good formula for us.
We need it because there's only 3 ways really to grow an economy. Is you can extract wealth from the earth, farming or fishing or oil or silver or gold. We don't do that in southeast Wisconsin. 2 is, with some rare exceptions of farming. 2 is what you could do is you could have a growing population. And that's not happening. I mean, we're growing about 1%, and immigration's been really cut off. We're not really an immigration magnet. We're not bad. We're not good.
Yeah, right.
Not my role to tell people how many kids they should have.
Right.
So that kind of growth is out. We try to recruit people, but that's incremental. The other way to grow an economy is productivity. Is you get more with less, a productivity economy, and that we are crushing it. That is exactly what advanced manufacturing does, and these other sectors that we've been having success in.
So data centers, obviously, really hot topic, and there are people that love them and think they're the greatest thing. There are people that hate them, and for whatever reason, whether they're right or wrong. So you and I had the pleasure to sit with Brad Smith for breakfast, as a handful of people did, and talk a little bit. President of Microsoft, right? When they were in town to make this announcement, and fascinating to listen to the reality of some of this. There's people that believe that they're here because they've got a big hose in Lake Michigan. They're going to suck the water out of the lake and pollute it and put it back. I mean, there's a lot of myths,
Yeah.
a lot of facts and myths about this. Walk us through a couple of the big.
Oh my gosh, you're winding me up, Jim. And
yeah,
now
I know.
I'm
I
all
know.
wound up.
I like
Here we
this.
go. So water is a non-factor.
I know.
They will use as much water as one golf course in Wisconsin.
We need like 4 Olympic swimming pools.
4 Olympic swimming pools.
It's like your
the
car.
Port Washington one is they quote is 60 homes.
Yep.
The water is an absolute. And by the time we're done talking about the water portion of this, more water will have evaporated from Lake Michigan than they use. So water's not a factor.
It's funny.
Power, absolutely unbelievable demand of the power.
Yeah, but those are the 2 big things.
Those are 2 big
water,
things.
Well, water, environment impact
Yes.
with water and power. People believe my rates are going to go up. They're going to go through the roof for this.
So they will require tons of power, and there's no minimizing that part of it. But the way it works in Wisconsin is they have a separate agreement with the utility company, and they segregate those costs, and they pay for the generation and the distribution for what they use. Now, and CNBC had a great segment on this. This actually can maybe lower our energy costs because power demand in Wisconsin has gone down.
Okay.
And so when you're looking at the investment needed in the grid to take advantage of more green options, more efficient options, you need capital, you need demand to do that.
Right.
They are providing that capital to get more economies of scale. So net, this will be good for ratepayers, I believe, in the long term.
Right.
And there's been a lot of analysis on that, which has not been out there in the social media sphere where people are getting bad information on this.
Right.
And I'm not saying it works the same way all around the country. There are places in the country where previously the data center cost was pushed on residents and other businesses. That's not the way it works in Wisconsin.
Yep.
But let me just kind of let me go bigger. Like, okay, there's jobs, there's construction jobs. That's big important. These construction workers out there, electricians, plumbers, whatever, they're not building a building. They are building the world's largest computers.
Right. Well, that was one of the sound bites from Brad Smith. This is the largest supercomputer in the world.
These supercomputers are going to do things in medicine that they may be creating. The cure for cancer may be happening in these data centers. Or when we're talking about personalized medicine, the average American now takes 6 different pharmaceuticals, right? How does that interact with your environmental factors, with your sex, with your height and weight and ethnicity? All these variables, these are the computers that put this together for personalized medicine.
Right.
These are the computers that, when you talk about advanced manufacturing, to give us the edge in that. And I was with Peter Ardidano, the new CEO, not the new CEO, the CEO of GE Healthcare, new to the MMAC board. Yeah, right. And I was like, is there for this technology for imaging, is it good to be next to these data centers, like the latency issue? And he said, absolutely, especially in a trauma 1 center, right? So you're going to want to be next to these data centers for trauma 1 imagery. I mean, I could go down the list. Right. Let me do one more thing, because the other hat I wear, Jim, as you know, is I'm Lieutenant Colonel in the U.S. Army.
I know that.
I'm the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Right.
And let's just talk about defense, and I'll just keep it very simple. Is the nation with the fastest computers has the fastest weapons, and the nation with the fastest weapons wins the next war.
Wins.
So we have to be part of this economy.
Well, and one of the things that I think was said in the breakfast also, this is not a 2-year investment. They're talking about a 10-year runway of add-on investment. So this keeps going. This investment keeps going, and it's with Microsoft. It's with OpenAI. I mean, these are investments with companies that have the staying power to do this.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft, literally has a higher credit rating than the U.S. government, and the most stable company in the world says, we're here for the long haul, and we're going to spend billions of dollars.
Right. We should like that.
We do like this.
I've been in Wisconsin for 25 years, and we've been talking about how do we attract this kind of investment for 25 years.
Right. And now it's happening.
And now it's happening, and it's just human nature. Then there's a group of people that says, "Oh, no, I don't want it."
Can I go to the rabbit hole really quickly here? Because I think this is really important.
Yeah, please.
I just read a book that was recommended to me by one of the Microsoft executives called Breakneck. And the premise of the book is this, is China has become an engineering state. It took in Georgia, we built 2 nuclear reactors. It took us 13 years. China, in the meantime, built 33 of them. California has not been able in the last 10 years to build 100 miles of high-speed rail. In China, they built tens of thousands of miles of high-speed rail. And I get ships. China built more ships last year than we have as a nation since World War II combined.
Yeah.
So, and we become a lawyerly state. We become a place where we can't do this, can't do that. Now,
You're right.
it's complicated. China doesn't respect human rights. They don't respect environmental rights.
Somewhere in between how we're not doing it and how they're doing it is a middle ground.
Exactly.
And we have to find the middle ground of it. It's not too few like we've got, but it's not that size.
Right.
Something
so going back to
between.
like Port Washington, my question for the naysayers is like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Because houses would take more water and more than this day. I mean, do you want a dairy farm? Because a dairy farm, I love dairy farms, love the agri, but that would be exponentially worse for the environment than this data. So, I mean, do you want development or not? And if we want our kids to be here and we want to have jobs and opportunities, then we have to invest in 21st century technology.
So that's a great segue and a good pivot. I sit on your board. I've been on the MMAC board for probably 20 years now.
Oh, it's been
yeah, it's been. I know. Yeah, I'm
great.
Still a young guy though. About 20 years on the board. It's been great. You just published your 5-year strategic plan, which I think is great. And what I love about it is the simplicity of the starting point, which is focus on 3 things, right? And the focus is growth of the region, talent in the region, and livability of the region.
Yes.
So just walk through a little bit of kind of how you. I know that's informed by your team. It's been informed by your 2,000 members. It's informed by the board, and it's all kind of pulled together to create this document, which I think is really a well done document.
Yeah. What we do is we compare ourselves to other metros that we feel like we're competing with, and our vision is to be a globally competitive region that fosters high value employment for all. And then, as you said, Jim, it goes down talent, growth, and livability, and gives very specific things of what we're going to do, and puts quantitative measures next to that. So, talent. What's our primary thing on talent? The primary effort is K through 12 education.
Yep.
And that's a whole different podcast, but we have a lot of different specific things that we want to do on K through 12 education. We have to, son. Here in Racine and also Milwaukee Public Schools, there are similar numbers. The MPS graduation rate is 65% from high school. That is where we can get more. And it's 2 reasons, because we are our brother's keeper, and everyone on the board, as you know, Jim, wants us to be a good neighbor.
Right.
The second part is just purely economical. It's like, we need that workforce.
Well,
right?
but those kids are here. So grow our own talent here, train our own talent here, and have them stay here. Right. It's so much easier to have people stay here than it is to convince them to come here.
It is.
Yeah.
There's a woman named Krista who works for Microsoft. She was one of 9 kids, grew up here in Racine.
Yeah.
And
she was at breakfast.
Yeah, she was part of the voucher program, went to a Catholic school here. She now works for Microsoft. Can you imagine, 10 years ago, saying, I want to someday be a professional at Microsoft and live in Wisconsin? You'd be like, well, they're in Washington. Those things are happening. It's real life. So talent, right? Growth, our primary growth vehicle is Milwaukee 7. We talked about that. But also across all these things, that we do a lot of lobbying at the federal, state, and local level, and there's all sorts of different conversations to have in that. So that's growth. And then livability is just, we want to be a place that's a great place to live.
And again, reading through this, whether it's the arts, whether it's investing in infrastructure, whether it's facilitating investment in making the Southeast Wisconsin a great place to live and work and raise a family and make a living. Right. That's the play.
And as you know, we were on the tip of the spear on the Bucks and the Brewers, getting them to stay in Wisconsin. We work very close with the arts community, as you mentioned. Cleaning up the Milwaukee estuary right now with all those PCBs at the bottom. That was MMAC that secured that funding, which they're cleaning. So you could actually kayak in the Milwaukee River here next year and fall in with your mouth open and not freak out. And those are all the things we do to make it livable. So
and again, probably why it resonates with me is it fits pretty closely with kind of who we are and how we do it from a corporate standpoint as well. I mean, that's us. We're privately held. We're family owned. This is where we live and work and play and do business. And I tell people all the time, the East Coast for us is Lake Michigan, and that's our East Coast, right? So that's where that's why this is really important to us, because we know it's important to our customers and the people who live and work around us here as well. So pivot to one that like the hottest of hot potatoes for you as a former legislator. We're going to have a new governor next year.
Yeah.
Like no predictions, but it's going to be an interesting race because we will have a new governor next year, and that governor's going to have some pretty heavy things to think about and talk about. What do you get 2,000 members, and a handful of them I know are pretty vocal. Mm-hmm. What are people thinking about in terms of what they're looking for our governor to really lean in on and get done?
Yeah, I mean, it depends who you talk to, but I think for the business community, there's still the taxes are too high. Some
Mm-hmm.
tax relief. There's something that has to be done with education. We keep sliding with our education results.
Right.
And even a lot of the states in the South that we used to just crush with reading scores, Mississippi, I mean, they're passing us by.
Right.
We have more and more students that are leaving here for colleges and going to the South. So that has to be dealt with. We want continued support for these data centers. As you know, there's efforts to not have this type of development. And now that's not part of our strategy. Our strategy is not to go get more data centers. Our strategy is advanced manufacturing, food and beverage,
Right.
power components, but just the general sentiment of helping growth. So there's going to be a lot of different issues out there from the business community. Essentially, what we're rooting for is we're a bipartisan, nonpartisan organization. We're rooting for the adults in the room, right?
Well, but I think that's a really relevant answer to this. I think it's a good answer to it because and I know that. That's why I asked you the question, because I know that's how MMAC is. That's how, frankly, that's how we are too.
Yeah,
we're nonpartisan. We don't
Right.
we've got to do business with everybody, and we've got to get along with everybody. We would love to see more middle of the road adults in the room that can get more things done.
Yeah, and I think it's always tough to put it on a spectrum like middle, left, or right. Depending on the issue. I would just say that there's a growing political trajectory of populism and not grounding policy and communication and facts and ethics and responsibility and how free markets work. And that's what we want to focus on is, we don't have a political ideology at MMAC, but we do know what policies work, and we do know that there's investments that need to make in places like education.
Well, we have a strong perspective on what policies work, and that's the best we can have is our perspective, and push forward that perspective, and have track against it.
Yeah,
and
we've had great
results show up. Right?
Yeah, and we've had great relationships with Governor Evers, and have had a lot of wins with his administration. The same with the Republican legislature, with Senator LeMahieu and Robin Voss, and so I want to keep that up. I do believe that there's consensus that it's the Democrats' election to lose. I mean, the Republicans have not done very well in the last statewide elections, and then the trajectory of the sentiment for Democrats next year looks strong. There was just an election in Tennessee in Congressman Mark Green's district.
Mm-hmm.
He was a fairly flawed candidate last election with some personal issues that were out there. He underperformed even Trump at 22, and Trump was at 23. But the Republican that just won that election last week only won it by 10, 11 points. So that's probably a pretty good bellwether that Democrats have tons of momentum next year, and they've had momentum here in Wisconsin. So once again, MMAC, who are we spending time with? We're spending time with every single candidate of the race.
You and I have been to a couple of events and dinners with that.
And there'll be a lot more of them next year.
I suspect so. So finally, I want to give you a little bit of a second to talk about something I know we've talked about at some of our meetings. The federal tax credit for education and MMAC's role as scholarship granting organization. Walk for our listeners, right? Walk through what that is and why it's. And I've heard you talk about it as a no-brainer. Walk through what that is.
This is the biggest unknown new policy in our nation that is going to be debated over the next year. So what's happened in the bill that passed in Congress this past summer is there was a new tax credit created. The name of it wasn't pinned down in there, but let's just call it the federal education tax credit.
Right.
And essentially what it is, it's a $1,700 tax credit, dollar for dollar. There's never been a dollar for dollar credit per person. So not to be Captain Obvious here, but some people don't understand how all credits work. So let's just use an example. You do your taxes, it comes back, you have a $10,000 tax liability. But if you write a $1,700 check to a scholarship granting organization,
qualified scholarship granting organization,
your tax liability has gone from $10,000 to $8,300 dollar for dollar, right? So it's
Right.
not even like you're asking people for money.
Yeah. It's money they would pay. They would pay in taxes. It's dollar for dollar off their taxes, not dollar for dollar off their income. That your taxes.
Exactly.
I get it.
It's not a
right?
deduction; it's a
But
credit.
that's an important distinction. And I think the other thing that's important is you can designate.
Right. So right here in
Right.
Racine, maybe you want to designate to Racine Public Schools and specifically say, I want to give this for reading coaches for fourth graders that can't read, or I want the local school to create a marching band, or the possibilities are. So you could designate the school. MMAC set one up. It's called Pay It Forward Wisconsin. Please just Google Pay It Forward Wisconsin MMAC and you'll find it. Here's the key: is states need to opt in.
Yep.
And so we're really leaning on the governor to
It's a
opt
27
Wisconsin in.
event, correct? This
Yes,
is a 2027
The
event.
governor has to opt in by January 4, 2027. So we have two kicks to the cat. We could either have Governor Evers opt us in, or the new governor,
Or whoever's new.
Yeah, and I think when it comes down to it, I believe Governor Evers has been a friend of education. I believe he's going to get there. Yeah, he gave the largest increase in voucher and charter schools was under Governor Evers, and he's been a big advocate of increasing special education, which we have as well. So I think, and also I want to be very, very clear. This is for public schools and private schools.
Right.
Charter, it's for all schools. So initially, Governor Evers' reaction was negative.
That's
He didn't
really
realize,
important too.
Yeah, I
Really
don't think he realized it was for public schools as well.
Right.
The Democratic governor of Colorado this past weekend said they're going to do it. The Democratic governor of North Carolina said they're going to do it. I think Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania is going to do it soon. So this is a big deal. This is our number one state issue at MMAC right now,
Yeah.
and paid for Wisconsin.
But
spread the
again,
word.
I think it's a very big issue. It's an issue that has flown under the radar. I wouldn't have known about it unless I knew it through MMAC.
Right.
And it is. It's if and when this takes place, it's a no brainer. I mean, you can pay $1,700 per person, $3,400 as a filing jointly, right? To an organization that you can designate through this kind of an organization, or pay the taxes.
And if Wisconsin doesn't do it, then one or two things will happen. Either your money will just go to the U.S. Treasury,
Right.
and then it goes in
Wherever it
interest,
goes.
debt, and then DOD and all that stuff. Or what will probably happen is because your federal tax return is federal, Captain Obvious, but your 501c3s, which SEOs are also federal, is a guy like you, Jim, will have friends in Florida who just say, hey, will you donate to our SGO in Florida? Because you still get $700. So essentially your money
We'll just go out of state.
will just go out of state to a
someplace
different
else,
school.
to somebody else.
So why would we not do it here in Wisconsin?
Great point.
The other point, I don't think Illinois is going to do it because Governor Pritzker is a lot more ideological driven than here in Wisconsin. Just think about the archdiocese down there; they could send money to here, and then we could.
People will hear more about this in the coming years. It's like we said, it's part of Big Beautiful Bill, I believe. It's embedded. We'll hear more and more about it, and we'll hear it in the coming months.
And
so.
City Forward Collective has done some polling on
Yep.
this, and the polling shows that it has 65% support right now. When
Good.
people don't know the details, so I think that's only going to grow.
Well, hey, I think we're kind of running out of time, Dale. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Great.
for being
It's
here.
fun.
Thanks for and we could sit and go down a pile of
Yes,
rabbit
we
holes
could.
if we wanted to.
We have before.
Yeah, we have
Off
before.
mic.
So thank you to you, Dale. Finally, a big thank you to all of our listeners. We appreciate the time that you spend tuning into this show. If you have questions or topics you want us to cover, please visit the show notes and submit your input. You can also subscribe so that you never miss an episode of Your Money, Your Mission, where we turn financial complexity into actionable guidance, provided by Johnson Financial Group. So, Dale, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
This podcast is not a recommendation to buy or sell any investment or financial product. Whether our particular investment or financial solution is right for you depends on the facts of your particular situation. Please consult your own professional advisors prior to taking any action based on the content of this podcast. Bank services are provided by Johnson Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Bank services are provided without regard to race, color, national origin, sex, handicap, or familial status.